I feel like what I love about Mob Psycho was obviously the animation, obviously the story, but I really liked how, towards the end of the series, like it basically became Shigeo versus himself, And what's crazy is that like I don't think anybody died in that anime, which is kind of weird. But I might be wrong, but it just seems like you can tell like a really good story without having to, do all that.
One thing I love about Mob Psycho are the characters. I just love them. They're very dear to my heart, and I love their interactions. And I just think they're really good characters that Mob Psycho created.
Mob Psycho 100 is one of those shows where it just continues to unfold, improve, and showcase its incredible writing, character arcs, and just, everything. The world building, everything they did with Reagan. It's really one of those special shows that comes along once in a blue moon. And so I think to get to watch that, as you're in your teen years, getting into your 20s, is an incredibly awesome experience. I think more people should watch it. I think you should watch it, and just be psychic. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Mob Psycho.
Hey guys, this is Majora, and I gotta say thank you for Spooter for inviting me on to talk about Mob Psycho. So, I watched this anime a little bit ago with some friends, and honestly, it is so good. I'm very satisfied with the ending of the show and how, I guess spoilers for Mob Psycho, the fact Dimple didn't end up being, I guess, a villain, more so a misunderstood guy, and there's not really a final villain of Mob Psycho. It's just Mob dealing with himself, which is very profound, and I gotta say, it's very cool. I just really, really like the anime. I really like how Reagan's character evolves from being a sleazy con man to a very good friend for Mob and actually standing up for him. He is probably one of the best characters in the show, despite not being an Esper. The comedic moments are really, really good. If anything, I wish it had more. Mob Psycho, definitely a pretty peak show, and I loved every minute of it.
I will say, Reagan Arataka is definitely an internet sex symbol.
Mob Psycho 100, created by Tomohiro, aka One, is not the greatest anime I've ever seen, but for some reason, it's my favorite. Ever since I first watched it with my best friend, I've fallen in love with the story of Shigeo Kageyama and all the crazy misadventures he goes on. If you were to ask me why I love this story, I would say one simple word: passion. Every aspect of this story just screams that word. You can tell that everyone, from the directors to the voice actors, and especially the animators, care deeply about the story that One Sensei created. And I think it's because of their love that this anime became so great. And now, it's my turn to add my love. This video is not meant to convince you to watch Mob Psycho 100. I plan to go fully into spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. As of now, the entire series is on Crunchyroll, but if you don't have it or don't want to use it, Seasons 1 and 2 can be found on the Netflix, and Season 3 is on Hulu. However, if you don't care about spoilers and just want to hear me yap about one of my favorite stories, then feel free to stay. This video is meant to be my love letter to this anime. Instead of going arc by arc, or season by season, I'm instead opting to go through several characters that I've picked out and talk about what I think each of them bring to the story. I think there's no better character for us to start with than our protagonist, Shigeo Kageyama, aka Mob. Shigeo Kageyama, aka Mob, is what I would classify as being the anti-protagonist.
Don't you mean antagonist?
No, I do not. What do you think of when you think of a protagonist? There's someone who has an outgoing and memorable personality, with goals they work so hard to achieve, and they must face dangerous foes to achieve those goals. Something like that, right? Mob is not that. See, here in America, we typically think of mob as being a large crowd of people, especially one that is disorderly and intent on causing trouble or violence, or the mafia. In this story, mob is supposed to mean just part of the crowd, which Shigeo fits perfectly. He doesn't have a super outgoing personality. In fact, he's pretty shy and often lets people boss him around. Unlike most anime protagonists who have goals like being the #1 hero, being king of the pirates, or committing mass genocide, Mob's goal is to simply find himself outside of his powers. At the start of the series, and throughout most of its runtime, Mob is already one of the most powerful psychics, aka espers, in the series. The show doesn't follow him getting more powerful as he goes through rigorous training arcs and faces powerful foes, but instead shows Mob trying to fit into society, despite being so unnormal compared to all of his peers. Oftentimes, unless helping his master Reagan vanquish some spirits, Mob primarily doesn't fight people. In fact, he tries to avoid fights altogether as best he can. For me, what makes Mob so impactful as a protagonist, despite his lack of massive charisma or action in the story, is his heart. Deep down, he's a genuinely great person who never has any real ill intent for anyone and desperately wants to be the best person he can be to his friends and family. I feel like a lot of us want to be the main character. We want the world to revolve around us and have everyone else just be the side characters. But Shigeo Kageyama teaches us that in life, everyone is a side character. Even you. Even I. In the story of life, we are all extras, but as Mob puts it himself,
and I control my own destiny. I get to be the protagonist. It's my life.
We have the power to choose what we want our lives to be. Our lives are our own, and it's up to us, just like Mob, to ultimately decide if we feel that we're living it to its potential. Reigen Arataka is an absolute legend of a character, and for sure, the most popular one in this entire series. Okay, so take Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, turn him into anime without using AI, and you get this guy. Much like Slippin' Jimmy himself, Reigen seems to always be pulling some crazy, scandalous schemes to pull one over on people. There are so many hilarious moments with this character, but what will always seem to get me going is just how well he's able to play situations. Like how in the Season 1 7th Division infiltration arc, he straight up just convinces an entire vision of elite espers that he's their boss. Or when he managed to be the only person to land a hit on a teleporter. Or how he literally scammed another scammer. This man is the king of shenanigans. But you already know that, right? You already know how funny and silly and attractive, at least according to the animators, this guy is. However, just like in Better Call Saul with Jimmy McGill, Reigen too hides a far more interesting character underneath his wacky persona. Quite possibly, my favorite arc in all of Mob Psycho 100 is what's known as the Separation arc, spanning episodes 6 and 7, Shut It, of Season 2. Are these the most hype episodes of the show? No. In fact, they have a total of 0 fight scenes, and not even the best animation. However, they more than make up for the lack of animation, with some of the best character writing in any story I've ever seen. Reigen Arataka has no powers of any kind. No spiritual power, no psychic power. He has no powers of any kind, and he never did. Growing up, like Mob, Reigen was just seen as average. He had dreams of making a difference, but in the end, he never really amounted to anything, and especially in a world filled with people who can do extraordinary things, I'm sure he began to feel like he was nobody. In the Separation arc, after a little job, Mob and Reigen split up. From there, the arc focuses on Reigen trying to get by without Mob, who he primarily used for his work. At first, things start going well. He's making money, being invited onto TV shows, and doing a lot more. However, there's still a lingering feeling of loneliness left in Reigen. He eventually begins spiraling out of control, especially when the rest of the world starts to question him too. At a press conference, Reigen is confronted by a reporter who reminds him of a paper he wrote back in middle school when he was Mob's age, where he stated that he wanted to be somebody. Something about that just hits hard for me. His goal wasn't to become the strongest or the most popular. He just wanted to be somebody. And I guess in a way he got that. He got the fame and recognition he wanted. But along the way, he almost forgot.
Excuse me, I saw your sign and thought I'd stop by.
Sure, come on in. So how may I... Oh, it's just a kid.
That boy who changed his life. The boy who he gave the advice to that...
There are people who are fast, people who are book smart, and people with strong body odor. Psychic powers are just like that, another characteristic. You must embrace that characteristic as a part of yourself and continue to live positively. After all, the truth behind one's charm is kindness. So just be a good person. You got it?
After the press conference goes awry, Reigen walks out and finds Mob with Dimple, the ghost that befriended the two, hanging out by a bridge. Reigen asks his protege if he's heard all the things people have been saying. Mob says he does. In fact, he's known the whole time. He doesn't say it, but you can feel Reigen's pressure in the scene. This is it. His gig is up. Mob knows. He knows that Reigen isn't some awesome psychic. Mob knows the truth, that Reigen is really
a good guy.
In that moment, I think Reigen realized that, yes, he did become somebody. He became a good person. All he needed was just one person, one kid, to believe in him. I think like Reigen, we all need that. Someone who believes we're special, even if we might not be. I'm fortunate enough that I have a whole bunch of people who believe in me, and to those people, I'll promise I'll always do my best to be a good person, just like Reigen. Dimple, or as some people call him, Ekubo, was the first real major antagonist in the story, appearing in the LOL cult arc. He starts off as an evil cult leader, who gets defeated by Mob and reverts to a lesser form.
What are you doing? Stop! Wait!
After this, and with nowhere to go really, Dimple starts to follow Mob around, and eventually, his younger brother Ritsu too. At first, he's only doing it to manipulate and possibly possess the young boy down the line to restore his glory. However, as the story continues, Dimple grows to care for Mob, even saving him in several scenarios. Even so, there's still a looming threat that Dimple could betray him and revert back to his nefarious ways. You're always teetering on the edge with this character. You know that deep down he cares for Mob, but you also know that Dimple wants to be a god more than anything. Or so he thinks. The first half of the third and final season is an arc titled The Vine Tree Arc. It focuses on Seasoning City's reaction to this giant broccoli that formed after Mob's climactic battle with Claw's boss. This is another great story arc in my opinion. It starts off kinda mundane, but as the episodes continue, things just get more and more intense. One of the major factors in this arc is the Psycho Helmet Cult, a group of people formed after Mob defeated Dimple the first time, who worship the bowl-cut boy like a god. Seeing the potential with the new tree, Dimple tries to convince Mob to take over the cult and rule the world together, but he refuses. So Dimple decides to do things his own way. This then leads to Mob having to confront his old friend one last time. In their battle, Dimple comes to a realization about his true feelings and goal. He didn't want to just take over the world. He wanted to take over it with Mob. Actually, no, it wasn't that. Deep down, Dimple just wanted to be seen. That's what this has all been about. Not power, or fame, or anything of the sort. Dimple just wanted to be seen and recognized by someone. Someone like Mob. Despite the two making up and deciding to head home together, they are eventually attacked by the Divine Tree itself, taking the form of Psycho Helmet. This then leads to one of the coolest fights in the entire series, where Dimple has to protect his unconscious friend from this evil entity that he helped create. In the end, Dimple has to make a difficult decision to sacrifice himself for Mob's sake, taking the tree up to space, after which, no one really remembers what happened. To them, it's just a blur, even to Mob. However, Shigeo Kageyama did remember one crucial thing.
Temple, thank you. Thank you for being my friend.
I think what makes Dimple special to me is just how well his character arc is done over the course of these 3 seasons. He doesn't just get defeated by Mob and then switch to being completely heroic. He still has his own agenda, but over the course of the series, you see him grow to care for Mob and change his ideals in subtle but noticeable ways. Mob and his little brother Ritsu have a very interesting dynamic. While Mob is unpopular and not very talented outside of his psychic powers, Ritsu pretty much outshines his brother in every way, in grades, and pretty much everything else. However, Ritsu lacks one thing Mob has, and that's his power. Even though he's naturally more gifted, he can't help but feel like he's in his older brother's shadow. Eventually, Ritsu joins a group called the Awakening Lab, after the guy running the place mistakes him for Shigeo. While at first it seems like a waste of time, it ends up causing Ritsu to awaken his psychic powers, which he soon uses to oppress others. Oh, as for the Awakening kids, they're alright. Like the one that looks like Elvis. Ritsu has always been a very relatable character to me, because I think that a lot of us will find that even if we're told we're great by others, someone will always have something that we don't have, and in a way, we envy them, even when we don't want to. The important thing is to just not let that envy consume you. One of my favorite scenes in this entire series is when Mob finds out about Ritsu has been doing with his new powers, but instead of fighting, he's just happy that his little brother finally got his wish at having them. Ritsu is obviously confused by his brother's reaction and his nature to be so quick to forgive. However, before the two can fully reconcile their feelings, Ritsu is kidnapped by a member of the terrorist organization Claw, leading for Mob to have to save him, which then leads to another one of my favorite scenes. In the 7th Division infiltration arc, Mob, Dimple, and Teru, we'll get to him later, went to rescue Ritsu, but unfortunately, they got captured themselves. There, Ritsu apologizes to his older brother, who then does this.
I'm so glad you're safe.
As they try to figure out a way to escape, Mob tells his friend not to worry, because Ritsu is smart and can think of a plan for them.
I can't do anything special without using my psychic powers, but he can figure things out and solve anything, even without his powers.
I think what makes Ritsu a great character is not only his relationship with his older brother, but what he reminds the audience. His story is a lesson that everyone is great at something in a different way, and that you shouldn't compare yourself to others. That is what makes Ritsu Kageyama special to me. Before I can talk about Teru, there's something I need to address first. There's a term I've come up with called the critical point. I define it as the moment you fall in love with a story, specifically a TV show. For Mob Psycho, that episode is episode 5 of season 1, titled Oshimusha, Psychic Powers in Me. This is the 2nd episode of the Black Vinegar arc, aka the Teruki Hanazawa arc. The arc, as you can guess, primarily focuses on the character of Teruki, or Teru for short. Unlike Mob, Teru believes to be deserving of everything just because he has powers, and thinks he can use that to oppress people whenever he wants. Episode 5 primarily shows Mob and Teru's conflicting personalities and ideals, and it makes for a stellar episode. Teru is also the first non-spirit antagonist in the show, so this makes him all the more defining in the series. In the end, despite all his talk, Teru is defeated by someone, and with this defeat, he comes to a realization.
Oh, I guess I'm just an average person after all.
Like Dimple, Teru goes through an amazing development in the series, going from an arrogant and self-centered kid who thought he was the main character to realizing that it's better to help others and be selfless. The best example of that can be seen in the World Domination arc, with this exchange with a member of Claw's Ultimate 5, Ryo Shimazaki.
Well, I'm shocked. Because other than the boss, the world's greatest Esper is yours truly.
Don't flatter yourself. There are people in this world with abilities you can't even fathom. You're not that special at all. I mean, even I could defeat you.
I also think his character is a great showcase of Mob's true power, that being his kind and caring nature, and how he's able to turn enemies into friends. While Teru did at first seem like a good opponent for Mob, he is far from the greatest threat the kid has ever faced. While Mob and Reagan face off against a lot of evil spirits, most of them are pretty goofy looking, or just not that big a deal in the end. I mean, heck, one of them just looks like a fart. However, that all changes in Season 2, Episodes 4 and 5, when the trio are called in to help an innocent little girl who has been possessed. The one responsible is a man named
Keiji Mogami.
Never heard of him.
Let's make something clear. Keiji Mogami is one of the most underrated antagonists in fiction, and one of the most terrifying as well. It's impressive how the series can make his appearance go from this to this. You can also see the Exorcist inspiration for the character, the way he takes control of this seemingly innocent girl's body to use as a pawn to kill other psychics. Everything about this guy just screams unnerving. Despite him being the most human-looking spirit, Mogami is by far the most inhuman. In one of the best episodes of the series, Episode 5 of Season 2, we watch as Mogami traps Mob in a world where he not only has no powers, but is relentlessly bullied, especially by the girl, Minori Asagiri, that's been possessed. He does this in an attempt to make Mob as hateful as him, to make the young boy understand that the world is a rotten, awful place that needs to be corrected. However, with help from Dimple, in remembering his loved ones, Mob comes to the conclusion that the world is not awful, and that there is always something to fight for. This, of course, leads to one of the greatest battles in all of anime, Shigeo Kageyama versus Keiji Mogami. A fight so cool that I also drew fan art for it a year or so back. In the end, Mogami is sort of defeated by Mob, and backs away before he eventually returns in the World Domination arc, in which he debates Mob on the morality of killing bad people and whether or not he can keep up his compassion. I really love how, despite them still not being friends, Mogami respects Mob's ideals and decisions. It's really amazing how, despite this character only appearing in 3 out of 37 episodes, basically 8% of the show, Keiji Mogami is still one of the most memorable parts to me. He's just a great obstacle for Shigeo, not just in its overwhelming power and threat, but how he challenges the bolt-cut kid's ideology and beliefs. The belief that
People are able to change. Mogami and Minori both taught me that it's possible. The people around me changed me as well. Now I understand that I can do the same thing for others too.
On the topic of antagonists, let's move on to our next segment, the main antagonistic faction of the series. While they're no Akatsuki or Phantom Troop, Claw is still a pretty good antagonistic force. They only appear for a few arcs, mainly the 7th Division Infiltration and the World Domination, but despite that, they still make an impression on the show. One thing I find really interesting about the organization is that they aren't the story's primary focus. In most other series, the main characters will be working hard to take down those evildoers, but Mob Psycho 100 doesn't do that. In fact, Mob only gets involved in both Claw arcs when his family gets put in danger. Because he's a kid who still has a school life. Another thing I love about Claw is how most of his members are redeemed. It isn't by, wow, this kid has inspired us to be good and change our evil ways, but it's instead, wow, a bunch of kids and a scam artist just kicked our butts. We are not taking over the world. And speaking of redeemed characters, like Teru and Dimple, it's nice when former enemies and members of Claw, such as Koyama, Tsuchiya, and Sakurai, return in the future arcs to help Mob in the gang. Same goes for Sho Suzuki, a kid who shows up in the final arc of Season 1, It seems to have some kind of ulterior motives, despite working for Claw. He also might have a thing for Ritsu. IDK.
That's one hell of a getup you got there. You know, it looks pretty good on you.
Another Claw member I gotta mention before we talk about the big boss is Shimazaki, who I sorta mentioned before. This dude is so cool. He's blind but has a crazy teleportation ability and even took on Ritsu, Teru, and like 5 former Claw members all by himself. In the end, only the strongest character of all time could defeat him. Of course, the boss of Claw and main antagonist of the story is Toichiro Suzuki, the father of Sho. Like many villains before him, Toichiro believes that he is the one true absolute being and deserves to take over the world for himself. He believed that no one could match his power until he met Shigeo Kageyama, who he then declared to be his nemesis. Despite Mob trying to reason with him, Toichiro refused to listen, forcing a battle between the two. Since the boss of Claw was so overwhelmingly powerful, it forced Mob to go all out and even lose himself a little. However, before things went too far, in the end of the fight, Toichiro's power becomes so large that it threatens to blow up the city. Seeing no way to stop it, everyone tries to run. Everyone except Mob, who Toichiro believes he is there to kill. Instead, Mob decides to contain the blast and even sacrifice himself, telling Toichiro that he does have a choice, and that he can choose how his life wants to be. While it didn't make Toichiro the next Mr. Rogers, it helped him understand Mob's ideals and admit that he isn't the main character of the world, but he could still be the main character of his life. Right after he sorts things out with his family, of course. Overall, Claw, once again, isn't the most impressive antagonistic faction in anime, but they're still pretty cool, and the arcs with them are awesome. Oh, shoot, I almost forgot about... Katsuya Serizawa is first introduced as one of Claw's Ultimate 5 and faces off against Mob in Season 2's penultimate episode. What I find so interesting about this character is how he works as a parallel to Mob. Before the events of the series, Serizawa was a shut-in and social recluse before he was recruited by Toichiro into Claw, a man who claimed he could help him when in reality all he wanted to do was use him. This can be compared greatly with Mob and Reigen's relationship. However, where Reigen inspires Mob to become a better person, Toichiro makes Serizawa worse. I also want to mention that I really love character types like this. The ones that show us what a character could have become if they went down the wrong path in life. Examples like Kevin from Ben 10, Gaara from Naruto, and more. Anyways, after Mob helps Serizawa reconsider his actions, he later helps the heroes and defects against Claw. However, this leaves him without a place to work for, which then leads him to...
Oh, there you are. Come in.
I got lost along the way. I'm really sorry.
To mine, and probably everyone else's surprise, instead of just leaving the show, Serizawa joins Spirits in Such Consultation and the main cast, and what a welcome addition he is. It's so cool to see him doing his best to help out the gang, even with all socially awkward problems. Oh, and the fact he can turn his business cards into a sword? Come on, that's so cool! I think what makes Serizawa special is the lesson that it's never too late to change your life, no matter how old you are. Sometimes, all you need is a kind soul like Mob to help set you on the right path. Now, granted, it is a bit messed up that Reigen is still lying to him like he does to Mob, but I'm sure he'll eventually tell him the truth, probably after the finale. Now, let's talk about the other side characters of the story, besides all the crazy espers. Let's talk about... Alright, since this is Mob's school, there's a lot of characters here, so I'm going to try and rapid fire them all. I'll start off with probably the most relevant of these characters, Tsubome Takane, aka Mob's crush. Throughout most of the series, winning her affection is one of the young Esper's main goals. I also like how the reason he loves her isn't because she's pretty or attractive, but the fact that she was sorta nice to him when they were kids. You don't really get to know her all that well outside of how Mob views her, which makes sense since this is his story. Another important female character to mention is Tomei Kurata, the president of the Telepathy Club at Salt Middle School, a club that desires to find a way to talk to aliens, but spends most of their time slacking instead. Despite this, Tomei is a really nice character, and she's also got some great interactions with Mob. It's also worth noting that she joins spirits and such at the end of the series. Don't ask me to name the other club members though. Speaking of clubs, let's talk about the absolute goats of the series, the Body Improvement Club. Fight on! Fight on! Fight on! Fight on! These boys are so awesome. I love how at start, you think they're just going to be a couple of jocks who bully Shigeo when he joins them, but they turn out to be super supportive and kind. They're like the ultimate depiction of positive masculinity. Not to mention the fact they literally tried to fight a top tier member of Claw just to protect Mob, despite none of them having powers. Come on, how could you not like these guys? They're awesome. Some other notable characters are Ichi Misato, a friend of Mob, and a girl who sort of started the Psycho Helmet cult, Onigawara, a delinquent, and later member of the Body Improvement Club, and of course, there's Mob's short-term girlfriend, Emmy. I really love the episode with her and Mob, it's so cute and sweet. Yeah, I think that's just about everyone. I pretty much covered every character, but, the percentage meter is still not at 100. Well, I've talked about Mob, Reagan, Ritsu, Claw, the students. Who else am I?
No.
As many of you can determine, the show is called Mob Psycho 100 because the main character is Mob, he has psychokinesis, and his power level goes to 100. At least, that's what we're led to believe. See, during Mob's first fight with Teru, we learn that there is something higher than 100%. Question mark, question mark, question mark, percent. A form where Mob's power is seemingly unmatched, even being able to destroy dimensions, but Mob is not conscious for it. For most of the series, question mark, question mark, question mark, or as I'm just going to call him now, triple question mark, has just been a thing in the background. It shows up every once in a while, but it's kept a mystery. That all changes when... On his way to confess to Tsubomi, Mob is hit by a truck, and triple question mark is awakened, with only 2 goals. Give Tsubomi the flowers, and replace Mob. And he will accomplish those goals, no matter who gets in his way. That's right, the final antagonist of Mob Psycho isn't the leader of an evil organization. It's not a powerful evil spirit. It's our main character. Sorta. See, we learned that question mark, question mark, question mark is, in a way, Mob. He's the result of the young boy constantly pushing down his feelings and powers, resulting in them creating a new being that wishes to replace Mob, claiming that he's the fake Shigeo. The rest of the final arc is a beautiful and heartbreaking story as we watch all of Mob's allies, Teru, Ritsu, and even former members of Claw, try and stop his awakened form before it destroys the entire city. And despite all their efforts, everything they do for their brother, their friend, their former enemy, none of them have any success. That is until Reagan appears and, like all the others, tries his luck at reaching to Mob, getting him to snap out of that state. However, like all the others, he's unsuccessful. How could he not be? Unlike everyone else, he doesn't have...
Mob! I didn't want to lose to you. So I recently started a top secret workout routine!
No, it doesn't matter about what he has. because this isn't about who's strong. Shigeo may have just been a random kid who strolled into Reigen's life one day, but he became something more. A student. A friend. So Reigen, the GOAT Arataka, the greatest psychic of the 21st century, uses all his might to rush to that young boy who desperately needs him. And with the help of a returning friend in the form of Dimple, Reigen finally confesses the truth. The truth that he...
Mom! I have no power! No spiritual power! No psychic power! I have no powers of any kind! And I never did!
He lied about everything. All his power, all his glory, everything was a lie. It's a hard truth, but it's one Shigeo Kageyama needed to hear. That is the real Reigen Arataka. The him that he'd been pushing down for so long, just like Mob had been doing with Shigeo. The fact is, they both had different sides. Everyone does. They just need to accept them and realize they don't need to hide them. They just need to accept themselves, and in the end, they'll be fine. Just like you and I will be. I also want to mention that I really love how Tsubumi rejects Shigeo. Now, for one, I'm heartbroken for my sweet angel, but in the end, I realize that him getting a girlfriend isn't what's important right now. This isn't a story about a psychic defeating an evil organization and getting the girl. It's a story of a kid who learns to live with himself, to learn that he can be both Shigeo Kageyama and Mob, because his friends...
Kageyama!
Mob. Kageyama.
Mr. Kageyama! Mob?
Shige.
Mob.
will love him no matter what. As I write this script, I'm having trouble determining how I should end this video. This story means so much to me, and I've been wanting to make something special for Mob Psycho's 10th anniversary since I first finished the series. I don't know how to close this chapter, except to say, thank you. Thank you, Body Improvement Club, for showing what being a man is truly about. Thank you, Tomei Karada, for teaching that hard work and dedication is what makes dreams come true. Thank you, Toichiro Suzuki and Claw, for showing us that people can change, no matter how far they've gone. Thank you, Sho Suzuki, for showing us that you can be better than those who raised you, and carve your own path. Thank you, Katsuya Serizawa, for reminding us that, no matter how old we are, we can always find a new purpose. Thank you, Teruki Hanazawa, for teaching us that sometimes it's okay to let others take the spotlight, because it doesn't make us any less special. Thank you, Dimple, for showing that in the end, the most important thing for a person to have is bonds, not power. Thank you, Ritsu Kageyama, for reminding us that everyone has something that makes them special in their own way, and that we shouldn't compare ourselves to others. Thank you, Reigen Arataka, for the life lesson that it doesn't matter if you have powers or not. The most important thing is being a good person. Also, for teaching us how to scam people. Thank you, Shigeo Kageyama, for teaching us that the most important thing for us to do is accept ourselves, because our lives are our own.
Thank you, Mob Psycho 100.
Thank you, Mob Psycho 100.
Thank you, Mob Psycho!
Thank you, Mob Psycho 100.
And thank you, One Sensei, for creating a masterpiece that I will treasure to the end of time. Stay spectacular, everyone.